Now, what I should kind of tie this together on and wrap this all up is that we play in what I call the mid-market category. So the average deal that we acquire is worth somewhere between $25,000 and $300,000. Now you can
Okay.
do bigger deals, you can do smaller deals. The reason that we like that sweet spot is that they're easy to acquire. They're like the marketing KPIs are very reliable of how much you have to send to get a deal. There's the most demand for them because you have a really wide audience of potential buyers. And the interesting thing is most of the deals that our folks do inside of our community, they're not self-funding these deals, right? There's funders that actually fund the acquisition price. And so those deals are large enough to bring in outside capital to fund, and they have the cleanest returns. These are all double your money type deals.
Welcome back to the Massive Passive Cash Flow Podcast. I'm Gary Wilson, your host. I'm so glad to have you back listening to the show or watching if you're doing that in recorded mode on, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, you name it. We're glad to have you. We're also glad to have Sumner Healey. I'm not going to tell you where he is, but you're going to be envious when you find out. But first off, Sumner, I just want to say thanks for doing this, man. I know you got a lot of other things you can be doing. For you to spend time with our followers, it really is a blessing for us, and we really appreciate it, man.
Yeah. No, thank you for having me, Gary. I got up at 4 a.m. this morning. I was that excited to get on this call. Also had to get
Mhm.
up at 4 a.m. because about a year and a half ago I moved to Bali, Indonesia. So had to find the
Yeah.
sweet spot to make the time zones work. And yeah, more than anything, I'm excited to kind of share the wacky world of buying and selling lands, what we call land flipping. Because frankly, like no one really talks about it, right? It's kind of
Yeah.
a underloved niche in real estate. And I think the cool thing about real estate investing is there's so many ways to skin the cat. There's so many ways to make an income.
Yeah.
And I would argue this is one of the best, but no one's talking about it. So anyways, I'm excited to share that with your audience today.
Yeah. Well, I'll tee it up for everybody listening. Just imagine this now. If you can make money just on controlling a little bit of land for a short period of time that doesn't have a building on it, so it doesn't have electricity, gas, water, tenants, all this stuff that
Yeah.
causes headaches, right? Would you be willing to listen and check it out? Well, here's your opportunity. So let's start with this, if you don't mind, Summer. A little bit about who you are. Like how did you get into this? Because most of us, when we grew up, we wanted to be, astronauts and police
Right.
officers and things like that. But was there like an inflection point of somebody that
Yeah.
brought you into like a deal or showed you something?
Yeah.
And tell
Yeah.
us, start from there. Mhm.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. The inflection point was pretty early. I distinctly remember it in second grade.
Mhm.
My version of being an astronaut was first I wanted to be a police officer, then I wanted to be a businessman, and that happened in
Mhm.
second grade. I had a tough early start in the sense that, when I was 5, my parents got divorced, and so there was a little bit of trauma and friction there, and that was right when I started kindergarten. And I was put in
Mhm.
special needs classes in first grade because I had a really bad speech impediment, and they thought something was
Mhm.
seriously wrong with me. I was super shy. Like I don't know why. It's just a rough patch, and I was looking for some kind of identity. And I think that for whatever
Mhm.
reason, I stepped in the identity of wanting to be a business person. And so in second grade, I literally started selling candy on the schoolyard, the whole classic story. I almost got expelled. Kids were taking money for their parents to pay for the candy. And then I
Mhm.
moved on to having a garage sale every weekend. I would arbitrage stuff from Goodwill and sell it at my own garage sale. Like I was just always, I guess, scheming on some
Yeah.
level. Yeah, yeah. For me, it was beyond just wanting to make money, though. It was itching to be good at something, and I have no idea why business was the thing. I wasn't great at sports. I definitely wasn't good at academics. And so, yeah, from a young age, it had always been my thing. I grew up in a really small town in California called Big Sur. I
Mhm.
was born in a log cabin. I grew up in a very alternative family, and I think partially too the business side of things. Like no one in my family is super business savvy, but no
Mhm.
one is employed. No one holds a W-2. They all found a way to make their own income, whether that's from a small restaurant or massage or construction. And so I think it was also partially what was just modeled for me. Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, I think for me it's been an identity game more than anything else, wanting to have a thing that I'm good at, and business was that.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I appreciate that. I really appreciate you sharing your background. It's interesting how interesting people really are. I mean, I've been able to interview, well over 400 people now from all walks of life all over the world. And just like our planet itself, every place has something interesting to talk about, and so does every person. So that's why I love doing these podcasts, man. It's not just the knowledge that we share. We get some really good feedback from some of these podcasts too. It's just really fulfilling to hear that. But to meet people like you, I mean, it's just amazing. So in any case, I want to jump into the land, but I want to preface it with this: is everybody listening? The technology that's been evolving the last generation and the availability of data has made so much more possible for you. I just want to let you know this, that I don't care what your walk of life is. If you're listening to this, there's a way for you to proceed and succeed in the world of real estate, in a large part because of the data and the technology available to us. Like be doing what we're going to talk about land here.
Yeah.
We were doing stuff like this years ago, but it just was not as easy, and it was you didn't have the market that we have now. This market now is worldwide. So I just want to lay that groundwork for everybody listening. And if you could, Summer, go ahead and kind of jump into like what was the first transaction you did? What was that like, and how did you get involved? Because I want people to hear this and really picture themselves and doing the same thing and putting themselves in your shoes and doing the same thing. Because probably, I bet nobody gave you $1 million, did they?
No, no, no. And one thing, Gary, just to add to that for your listeners, I really think even though the real estate market's a little soft right now and it's a little
Mhm.
weird and interest rates and et cetera,
Mhm.
I still think that we are entering into a real estate gold rush because real estate is still a very antiquated world. A lot of folks haven't gotten up to speed with the times, and we have
Mhm.
this weird inflection point with AI and software getting to a point where if you're an early adopter of these things, I think the next 5, 10, 20 years, whatever it may be, like there is massive upside. And I've seen that even in my own journey. I started in 2019. When I first started, I was doing everything through the county assessor's office, county recorder's
Mhm.
office. I was using their GIS maps, and just to see where we're at today versus that is like it's pretty monumental. But yeah, the origin story is interesting. I had done an internship in Northern Virginia. I was did an internship for Raytheon. I was actually a recruiter
Mhm.
placing software engineers for the CIA. And
Mhm.
I hope I don't get in trouble for saying that. I worked for a contractor that worked underneath Raytheon.
Yeah.
It was I didn't like it. It wasn't a great experience. I learned a lot on the job. I had run a few businesses prior to that. I had an e-commerce business. I had a textbook business. I opened a gym. I had a photography business for real estate agents and real estate developers. I had done a whole bunch of things since I was 16. But yeah, I was 23 years old. I felt like, you know what, I should try getting a real job and see how this goes. After a year of that, I packed my bags. I moved back to San Diego and I said, I'm done with having a job. I'm going to start my own business. And I started
Yeah.
listening to bigger pockets like most people, and that kind of
Mhm.
planted the real estate seed. And so I was in North County of San Diego, living down there, and I just started door knocking with ugly houses. Like there was no method other
Yeah.
than knock on an ugly house, and then I had a little handwritten letter that my girlfriend wrote at the time that would slip under the door. And I did that for a few months, and I literally got zero goose egg positive responses. I got a few people
Mhm.
that opened the door and told me to buzz off, but that was it. And I remember listening to a Bigger Pockets episode with a guy that was doing land deals. And I was
Yeah.
like, okay, that's interesting. And so I went online, I found a tax delinquent list in Elko
Mhm.
County, Nevada. And some of these counties, they'll put the list where it's easily accessible. Some of them, it's really hard to get. Like they'll mail you a CD-ROM or what have you. Elko County made it easy. It was just like, here's a tax delinquent list. I pulled that list. I don't know if you know much about Elko County, but it's like one of the most rural counties in America. It's all vacant land. It's in Nevada.
Okay.
Yeah, and spent a weekend with my girlfriend again, handwriting letters. So I sent out about 50 letters that said, "Hey, I want to buy your land." And I actually got a call back. I got a call back from a son. His dad owned the land. His dad was getting old, and they were entertaining offers. I had no idea what to offer. I had no idea what the property was worth. It was a 5 acre. And that negotiation fizzled out. That was in November of 2019. But just like getting my foot in the door and actually getting a positive response, I was like, okay, there is something here with this land stuff.
Okay.
So after Thanksgiving, I went back home. I got a data tree subscription, which is kind of a retro tool now, is pretty high tech back then. I
Mhm.
pulled a list of landowners in Nye County, Nevada. I don't know if you know where that is. It's another
Mhm.
Yeah, it's another podunk county. It's
Okay.
west of Las Vegas. It's right on the California border.
Okay.
Um, it's a weird boom town. So during like the 50s, 60s, 70s, guys were subdividing land there, and then they would go to the Las Vegas Strip, pull tourists off the strip, bring them into like a timeshare sales environment, and sell them a piece of land. And these are like quarter acres to 5 acres.
Mm-hmm.
Trouble is these people way overpaid. I mean, they were selling these things for 20, 30, 40 grand way back then. A lot of these, they
Wow.
never cut roads in, they never pulled utilities. I mean, these were not great properties.
Right.
And so I sent over 1,000 offer letters, and now I got a little more sophisticated on this time around. What I did is I pulled quarter acres and half acres in Nye County, Nevada, and on the front end, I applied a price. So I sent what's called a blind offer. It was a one page that was like, "Hey, my name's Sumner. I'm going to pay you $1,000 for your quarter acre." The second page was a purchase agreement. And January of 2020, I get a call back from a husband and wife. They're living in San Francisco. They were Filipino. They said, "Hey, we're planning on moving back to the Philippines. We want to get rid of this property." I bought
Mm-hmm.
it. I don't want to mess up the numbers. I think it was $1,027 and like 77 cents was the price we agreed on. They signed the
Mm-hmm.
contract. They mailed it back to me, and that was my first deal. And a couple weeks later, I sold it on Facebook Marketplace, $2,400 to a gal out in Michigan. And at the time, I mean, it was a large amount of money, but more than anything, it was the percentage returns. I was like, I just more than doubled my money, and I did that in a few weeks. And the conversations were so easy with these property owners. They were like, I just
Okay.
want to wash my hands of it. Like, we're just make it easy for us. And from there, that's all I needed to see. I just went pedal to the metal. And since 2019, I've done 700, 750 deals, primarily all vacant lands. And
Mhm.
yeah, that was like the light bulb moment for me.
Yeah. So what's the actual, if there's like a blueprint, not the details, but like, hey,
Yeah,
these are the 8 things, this is the blueprint, and then of course detail
totally.
comes with your study and
Totally.
experience and so forth. But
Hey there, did you know you can join a free real estate mastermind session every Monday night? It's called Monday Night Live and it kicks off at 7 p.m. Eastern. I'm Gary Wilson, and every week I host this live class, joined by investor agents from across the country and around the world. And here's the best part, no selling, no recruiting, just pure, actionable real estate education. Every Monday, we cover everything from the basics to advanced strategies. We even bring in expert guests once or twice a month. Topics like how to buy property using crypto, how AI is reshaping the real estate landscape, what the metaverse and blockchain mean for real estate deals today. Whether you're a new investor or a seasoned pro, you'll walk away with real value and you'll have the chance to ask questions live, connect with others, and expand your network. Sound good? Then head over to realestatewithgarywilson.com. Click the Resources tab, select Monday Night Live, and you'll find recent replays plus a full schedule. You can register for any upcoming session, even weeks in advance. And if you're watching this on social media, just check the video description for the direct registration link. I'll see you Monday night. Bring your questions, your notepad, and your drive to grow. I look forward to connecting
so
with
forth.
you.
But
Totally. Yeah, when I came into this space, there was no clear framework or blueprint or model to follow. It was a lot of like theory. So it was like, hey, go to rural counties in America, go work where other people are working, and pursue cheap land. So like they just said, hey, go after the really cheap stuff and flip those deals. And so one of the things I've worked on for the last 7 years is like, how can I turn this into a template or like a business in a box, a model that literally anyone could plug into? And so, yeah, the sequence is relatively simple. The first thing is in land, there's three kinds of kind of categories we'll break down for the three archetypes of land. Now that there's more, but we're going to simplify it. You've got infill properties. Those are quarter acre to half acre in a city,
mhm.
primary use cases to build a home on them. The second category that we have is rural infill. So that's going to be half an acre to, let's call it 5 acres. Usually tertiary to a city, might be outside of city limits, might be in city limits, usually more relaxed zoning, still primary use cases to build, but you could do other things with it as well. And then our bread and butter, where we really spend the most time, is rural recreational land. So this is
Okay.
5 acres to essentially infinite acres. They could be hundreds of acres in some cases. You get people from all walks of life that want to buy these. For some folks, it's recreational. Some folks, it's development. For some folks, it's agriculture. Some people just want it as a hedge against inflation. I found
Mhm.
that it's like the most resilient, like subtype of land that you can pursue. Those other two, they really do swing with interest rates. Demand does. The thing that we like about the rural recreational land too is it's not competitive at all. And we have multiple exit strategies. So most of the deals that we do are going to be just a standard flip. Buy it for 50,000, sell it for 100,000. But in some cases, if we have the right property, we'll run the value add play like an exemption based subdivide or a major subdivide or even an entitlement. And so you just don't get that same level of possibility with the other two options. So the first thing that we need to do is figure out what kind of game are we playing. And all three of those models work. What we teach is primarily rural rec and rural infill. So let's say that's the model that we're going after. The next thing with land is that we can work in any county in America. And that's a blessing and a curse because we buy all these properties sight unseen. You've got whatever, 3,300 counties in America. The trouble is you can buy land in any county in America, but the difficulty is selling land. The kind of the blessing and the curse with land is it's a very illiquid asset relative to houses. So you've got to be very keen on working in the right markets where there is real demand. Otherwise, you'll buy it, but you'll sit on it for 6 months. And we really care about the velocity of our capital and turning it over. And so the next step is we need to go and have a market selection process to pick what counties we're going to work in. The simplified, most basic level to think about this is we first need to verify how much supply is in that market for vacant land. We look for counties that have between 25 and 250 active listings. That's the Goldilocks zone, no less, no more. Then from there, we created coined a framework inside of LEA, our community called sell-through rates, which essentially looks at the quantity sold versus the quantity of active supply, and we build out a percentage off of that. So we look for markets that have at least 100% sell-through rate every 12 months, and we want a linear trend over the 6 month, 3 month, 1 month, et cetera. So what that means is if there's 200 active listings, we need at least 200 sales in the last 12 months to meet that 100% threshold. Gotcha. That tells us that we have the best shot of turning our inventory in at least 90 days. So kind of like the simple thing that land investors are looking to do. On every deal, we're looking to double our money. And that's very consistently possible in this business. That's either a buy for 50, sell for 100, which is a vanilla flip, or it could be buy for 100, subdivide, sell for 250 or 300. It can be more than a double, but that's the baseline of what we're looking for. And then from there, we're looking to turn our inventory in at least 90 days. Right now, our days on market this year are less than 30 days for the deals the deals that we're doing. So from there, once we've identified the market that we want to work in, you can market to property owners in a multitude of ways. And I've tried literally every option out there. But what I've figured out is the two best marketing channels for beginners are either direct mail, and we're going to use a blind offer approach where we're going to send a property owner an offer on their parcel and have a purchase agreement. Yeah. We find that these leads come with the most trust. They've already been price qualified. They're the easiest conversations. Or on the other side of the coin, if you have a little more sales ability, we would install cold calling into your business. Either one of those works. I wouldn't recommend the other channels in the beginning. Now, when we think about a land business and we think about marketing, my big kind of health metric for how well your business is doing is ROAS. That's return on ad spend. So with direct mail in this business, with blind offers, the way that we teach, you're usually going to get a 7 to 15x ROAS. Put $1 in, get $7 to $15 out on the back end. Okay. With cold calling, it's substantially higher. It can be 20, 30, 40x return for every dollar you spend with cold calling. Now, you can either use a cold call agency, you can cold call yourself, or you can build your own cold call team. Now, once we kind of decide like what journey we're going to go on for marketing, then it's just a game of math. It's just, we know if we send out 2,500 letters, on average, we get one deal. Or if we make 5,000 cold calls, on average, we get one deal. The typical deal nets you $20,000. And then so from there, you just ratchet up the inputs to figure out the math that you want to get on the back end. Now, once we get leads coming in, the real value in this business is not created in marketing, it's created in the acquisition process. So we send marketing out, people come inbound to us, they raise their hand, they say, hey, Gary, I might want to sell my property to you. It's never a heck yes out of the gate. It's like, let me feel you out. Let me see if you're the right person to sell this. And so the acquisition process is a way that we can build trust, build rapport, figure out the needs of the seller by pre-qualifying them, figure out who we should spend time with, who we shouldn't spend time with, and then go through the sales cycle with them. Now, that sales cycle could be 7 days, or more realistically, it could be 30, 60, 90 days of working with them to agree on price and terms. Now, most of the deals that we take down are either going to be a cash close, That's part of the value that we bring. Hey, we'll close in 3 weeks. We'll pay for everything, no realtor fees, no closing cost, and we'll just give you a simple cash offer. The second side of the spectrum could be an owner finance offer. Usually we're only going to do that if we have a value add route like subdividing. So, hey, we'll pay you terms, we'll do our project, and then we'll sell off the property. We get partial releases and subdivide each child lot off. The third is an interesting model and makes a lot of sense for beginners. Kind of what you were talking about in the beginning. We can control the property via the right contract, and then we can actually bring that property to the MLS or to a third-party listing site and find a buyer and connect the dots that way. So you can think about that as like a double close or something of that sort.
Yeah.
And so those are kind of our three methods for taking down the deals. Now to kind of put a bow on it and wrap it all up, the work's not over yet. So you get a contract, amazing. Next thing is we got to run it through title. We've got to get a title report. A lot of these properties, especially with vacant land, you're going to run into maybe a quarter of them that have messy title, more so than houses. This could be in someone's family for 100 years. There's all sorts of funny stuff you'll run into. So we don't buy any deals without title insurance and a clean title report. Now we'll work through the title problems. Like we have multiple deals right now that we're taking through probate and things like that. We're not scared to do it, but you have to be cognizant on the front end before we close on the property. Now, when I first started, Gary, the crazy thing is when I first started, I was so ignorant. I didn't even understand how title companies worked. I just self-closed everything. I did my own title searches. I did my own deeds. I don't recommend that. It's just a lot of work and there's some level of risk there. Now, once we actually take title to that property or we have the right contract to control that property, the next is the disposition process. And so when we sell land in this business, it's not like selling a house, right? If you sell a house and you're in a decent zip code, it's going to sell quickly. Land, we have to position it correctly. So we have to syndicate it to the right listing platforms. We have to drive as many eyeballs to it as possible. But the way that we actually position land really matters. And so I've created a framework inside of LEA for how to move our properties correctly. Just the simple nuts and bolts of it is almost all of the deals happen on the MLS. So that's where we want to be. We recommend having a realtor involved because people don't buy land sight unseen. We need boots on the ground that shows the property to our prospects. But we first need to get the property to view the prospect to view the listing and save the listing. The way that we do that is we have an incredible cover photo. If you saw our listings on the MLS, you say that's the most beautiful piece of land I've ever seen because we spend so much time and frankly money on marketing these properties. I mean, they're gorgeous. It looks like something out of National Geographic. Like cover photos, always drone photos, high fidelity, colors popping, like just incredible. Then from there, the sequence of photos matter. So you could have 50 photos on the MLS, but if you're on a third-party site like Zillow or Redfin, typically they're only going to show the first 5. And so prospects need to see the full story of the property in the first 5 photos. You'll see a lot of agents that have 5 screenshots of the GIS map or 5 photos of a tree. That's not a compelling vision that you're selling to the consumer. And frankly, we're dealing with consumers. These aren't savvy buyers. They want to be sold to vision. From the next part from there is we need the right copy. We need the copy in the listing that answers any potential objection by giving all the information they need. And that has a call to action to drive them to reach out to our realtor to book a showing. Because if we don't have a showing, deals just don't happen. Now, what I should kind of tie this together on and wrap this all up is that we play in what I call the mid-market category. So the average deal that we acquire is worth somewhere between $25,000 and $300,000. Now you can do bigger deals, you can do smaller deals. The reason that we like that sweet spot is that they're easy to acquire. They're like the marketing KPIs are very reliable of how much you have to send to get a deal. There's the most demand for them because you have a really wide audience of potential buyers. And the interesting thing is most of the deals that our folks do inside of our community, they're not self-funding these deals, right? There's funders that actually fund the acquisition price. And so those deals are large enough to bring in outside capital to fund, and they have the cleanest returns. These are all double your money type deals. And so if you're playing in a different category, really, really cheap land, the disposition process I told you about doesn't really matter. You can sell it on Facebook sight unseen, no problem. If you're dealing with really, really, really big properties, you're moving into more of a B2B environment, and the sales process is a little bit different as well. So the model that I just shared is really for that mid-market category, which is where I recommend everyone to start. We have folks inside of our community that They run this part-time, they do one deal a month, they make $30,000, $40,000 on a deal, and it's super low friction, low volume. Or we have folks that do 25 deals a month. So you can really ratchet it up to meet your time needs and
Yeah.
frankly what you want from the business. So I was a long-winded answer, Gary. I'll zip it.
No, that's awesome. You give a lot of detail, and I know everybody appreciates it, especially me.
Yeah.
Now, as far as location, is this all in the U.S.? Can you do this in Singapore, South Africa, Canada, places
Yeah.
like that? Or I don't even, the systems would be different. I'm gathering the data sources would be different.
Yeah. So that's a great question. And when I first got started in this business, I was like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to be the pioneer that takes
Mhm.
this model out of America and does it in other countries. It doesn't really work in the same way at all. There's a
Yeah,
lot of reasons why America's positioned to make this business model work. The first thing is there's insatiable demand for land in this country. And that goes back to the founding fathers' days. Like, you needed land to be able to vote. And like there's just kind of embedded in our country that land equals freedom. That's
yeah,
not the same thing in a lot of other countries. They don't have that same view. So land is it's an achievement for people to own it. It's a bit of a status symbol. I just don't see that in other countries in the same way. So you have a lot of demand in America. We have the best real estate data in America. That's not even close. Like where I live in Indonesia, there is no MLS. There is no publicly available data source that tells you what things have sold for. So you're flying blind. I don't
yeah,
know what my neighbor's house sold for. And that makes it a really confusing environment because what we have to do in this business is we have to evaluate land before we acquire it to make the right offer. And so we live
yeah,
and die by the quality of data in America. You just don't get that in a lot of other countries. We have an incredible postal system in America. So we
mhm,
don't you don't have that in a lot of other countries where you can send
yeah,
to someone's house and you know it's going to get there. And we obviously live in a very affluent country where there's a lot of land. And so the typical seller that we deal with is not someone that's extremely distressed. I always say it's akin to someone selling a bike at a garage sale that they've ridden once. That's how these
yeah,
property owners look at land. They own a beautiful house that they live in, and they have a piece of land in Colorado. They live in New York. They've never seen it. Just get rid of it. Here,
yeah,
for example, in Indonesia, obviously there's a lot of locals that own land here, but that land is they live on it or they farm the land, or like they're much more closely linked to the land that they do own. Or because it's so affluent in America, you might be in your 30s, you buy a piece of land because you can, and then in your 60s you never use it, and you're like, yeah, I'll just get rid of it.
yeah,
So I think America is uniquely positioned. Now, if you have any international listeners, do not fear. Anyone can do this in America, even if you're not an American citizen. So we've had
yeah,
18-year-olds from Poland run this business, people from South America, people from Australia, Asia. In fact, one of the earliest students that we had was a guy that was watching our YouTube videos, and he wanted to try this business in Canada where he lived. And he did
mhm,
it for a year, and he did do a deal. He actually made six figures on a deal, but it was just pure dumb luck. And so I ended up
yeah,
talking to him like, you live in Canada, great. Don't do deals in Canada. Pivot to America, and he's, gone
yeah,
meteoric. So I would say stick in America. One last thing I will say, Gary, that is an
mhm,
opportunity. In other countries, I think subdividing land is a massive play. We see that
okay,
here in Indonesia, see that in South America, Central America. People that are, in Costa Rica buy 100 acres, chop it up, sell these infill lots to foreigners. That is a model, but it's a very different game than what we play, in my opinion.
yeah, yeah. Well, I appreciate that. Now, as far as like timing, the one thing I'm gonna guess on this, and you can kind of confirm. Um, when you have land like that that's not improved upon yet, it's not you're not as beholden to the market cycles. We in an up market, down market. Which way is the market going? I mean, is there a time frame that's better to be doing this than others, or is it really like I'm thinking? No, you could. I mean, anytime you could be doing this. I don't care if your market's going up or down or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say, I mean, of course, I haven't been doing this since '08 or a very
Mhm.
serious recession. So I can just speak to my experience. I think the market's been very soft for the last 2 years. I mean, ever since interest
Yeah,
rates went up in 2022, the market's been a bit strange. And yet every year our days on market lessen and our volume improves. And
Mhm.
so I think there's a lot that we can control internally by the markets that we're working in, the deals that we acquire, and how we position those assets to
Yeah.
keep really healthy days on market. Now, I think there are some pitfalls you have to watch out for. If
Yeah.
you're acquiring, let's say, infill lots in a boom and bust town like Phoenix, Arizona, and the
Yeah.
market pulls back and the interest rates go up, yeah, you could be skunked. But if you're buying rural assets at deep discounts in Texas or Wisconsin or wherever, and it's a quality asset, let's say it's a 40-acre trophy property, that's always in
Mhm.
demand. And I've actually
Yeah.
seen that, like, when we went into the kind of the fear cycle of COVID, it was a tsunami of buyers that came to us because when people are scared, they flock to land. It's an
Okay.
economic hedge, but it's also like a legitimate like survival thing. Like, hey, I could grow crops on this property or live on this property if the world got weird. And so I just think that that kind of asset never goes out of favor.
Yeah.
You do have to get craftier. Like there are some market cycles where you can build bad habits. I've seen that. And then when
Okay.
things soften, you get smoked. There's actually the funny thing, Gary, is there's more people leaving this business than coming into this business right now, which I just think is fascinating because we
Yeah.
had a huge influx of new investors coming into the space during COVID when the getting was good. I mean, truly you could put up the worst piece of land on Zillow and it's going to sell in 10 days. So
Yeah.
folks built bad habits. They never became sophisticated operators, and when things softened, they felt the
Yeah.
pain of that. So yeah, I think it's a model that works in every environment. One of the things that I look at first and foremost on any deal is we're
Mhm.
underwriting risk, right? We never know exactly what we're going to get as an exit price, but we have
Yeah.
a really keen idea of protecting our downside and what that looks like. And so most of the deals that we acquire, we're buying them at 1990 prices, 1980 prices. I mean, the market would have
Wow.
to sour so bad for
All
you
right.
to really lose money. So yeah, I think it's a very resilient model. And again, our business continues to improve despite what the market's doing. But there are pitfalls, right? Whether it's, infill lots and boom and bust towns, or perhaps it's overpaying on deals, or you're taking on very ambitious value add projects like rezoning or entitling land in a bad market. That stuff you can definitely get steamrolled on. So you've got to
Okay.
play your cards correctly no matter what. But I think it's a very resilient model.
Yeah. Well, just like anything else in life, it just you eventually learn that do something well and to be a succeed at it. It's really you just have to get in the game, swing the bat, learn the rules, play by the rules, and later on you can figure out how to improvise, innovate and so forth. But the way you can do that, guys, honestly, if you're really interested in this, check out landinvestor.co/zero to hero. That's one of the places you can get more information. Another one is if you want to get some education, it's school, SKOOL. Everybody's sort of familiar with that now. School.com/LIA/about. Okay.
Yep.
And the final one is landinsights.co/light, LITE. So when people click on those are kind of self-explanatory, somewhere as far as like when they get in there, how to navigate and so forth. And
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, excellent.
I appreciate the shameless promotion. I
Yeah.
appreciate that. What I tried to do for everyone listening is I wanted to bring stuff that was free. I want stuff that anyone can access. So I'll just kind of provide some details in those three links.
Okay.
The first one, Zero to Hero, is a program that we've charged over $1,000 for historically. It's been sold at all sorts of different prices. But for your listeners, you guys can use the coupon code at checkout podcast and you can get it for free. So there's no charge. And that's an interesting program that I built out 3 years ago. I took two strangers, two people that had no land experience, and over 90 days, we documented their journey over the shoulder, building their business in real time. We started with
Mhm.
$10,000. We built that into $270,000 in pipeline profit after 90 days. They went on to hit seven figures their next year. Dennis is the student that we built the business with. He's on track to do $4 million in profit this year. So everything
Mhm.
that he learned came from that program, and it's just an over-the-shoulder look. You'll hear the seller conversations, the recorded call. I mean, you'll see literally everything. So that's a great first place to start.
Mhm.
It won't show you the ins and outs of building a business that does 10 deals a month, but it'll show you how to go get your first deal, right? Get over that first
Mhm.
deal hump. Now, the second thing is I run a community for land investors where people coach directly with me. We've got hundreds of folks inside of there, and you guys can get access for free. You can get a 7-day free pass. Come get on a coaching call with us, go through all the course curriculum. Inside of there, we show you everything involved in actually building the business. So you can think of zero to hero is get your first deal, and then LIA, LIA is more, hey, let's go build the business together. We've had 650 people go through LIA,
Wow.
dozens get to 7 figures, 100 plus have gone to 6 figures. So we've got a really proven model. And what I like about LIA is it's truly sequential. It's
Mhm.
as much of a business in a box as I could make it. Every single week, you're assigned one task that you have to work through. That task gets reviewed by me and our coaches, and it's very sequential. And so we've had folks that are, again, 18 years old. We've had folks that are 70 years old go through this program and build a land business. Now, the last thing is this is obviously, as kind of Gary and I talked about in the beginning, real estate's a data business. It's a software business. It's a tool-based business. It's part of your edge. And so in
Mhm.
2023, I launched a software company called Land Insights for people that are in the land space. And you
Mhm.
guys can get access to it for free at landinsights.co/light. So it's all free
Nice.
across the board, free for everyone here.
That
Yeah.
is awesome. Yeah, I really appreciate that. And one thing I might do is I teach a class every Monday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, called Monday Night Live. And if you're interested, I'd love to have you come and teach a class. And that's so our podcast is one directional. We do the talking and they do the listening. In the class Monday Night Live, it's open to everybody. I mean, anybody can come and be on it to listen to learn, but it's interactive, it's engaging. So there'll be like real estate agents who work with investors all over the U.S. and even in Canada and some other countries too, for that matter. But you get to meet people and they ask questions. It's just a lot. It's a lot more fun,
Yeah.
actually. And I love the engagement. People build relationships there, network. It's amazing. We
I'd
can
love
talk
that,
offline.
Garrett.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
I'd be honored. I'd be super happy to come.
yeah. And then we'll let you sleep until 5. You know.
Yeah, there you go. Appreciate
So
that.
yeah. Well, listen, I really appreciate you doing this, Sunder, and everybody listening. I appreciate you listening. If you didn't write that down, don't worry, it'll be in the show notes. Okay. Especially if you're driving, don't try to write when you're driving. But take advantage of this. This is another excellent way for you to make money in real estate. And just get in the game, get started. Start where you are, who you are, what you know, and who you know, and what you have to work with, and you can do this. I'm telling you. Sumner's experience is, it's actually more typical than you would think. And not everybody starts off in this business with a lot of money. You start off with where you my first property, bought half a house with my college roommate. I mean, it was it. Well, you know
Yeah.
what? It got us in the game, man. We were the first original house hackers, I guess. But
Yeah.
yeah. So
Gary, do
listen,
you mind?
Sumner,
Can I add just one last little nugget to put a bow on it? Do
sure.
you mind if I
Yeah.
share one more data point? So
Yeah.
to your point, I started with $7,000. You do not need a war chest of capital. I would say that this is probably the most affordable niche to get started in real
Mhm.
estate. And we've had folks have started with 5,000, 10,000, you name it. And if you don't have a lot of money, we can salvage that with a whole lot of elbow grease. If you don't have money, you better have some time. But if you have time, you can make this work. And here's kind of the way I look at this business. This is purely an active cash flow play. This is not investing. This is not passive. This is not rental income. This is a way to build active income in the real estate space. Now, the model that we teach goes like this. You come into land, your first year you do 100K, maybe a quarter million, maybe even more. I've had folks that do 400K in profit their first year, but
Mhm.
let's tamper expectations. You can build that business part-time, 10, 20 hours a week. You got to be consistent. It's slow in the beginning. You just keep on showing up. But then what we do from there is we say, okay, now you've got this cash flow vehicle. Now you've also got the skill of acquiring off-market deals. So we take that skill, we take the excess income, and now we start plowing it into real wealth building assets. So we buy Airbnbs, we buy apartments, we buy mobile home parks, we buy Section 8 deals. And I think that's just a beautiful combination to say this business is the vehicle that feeds us active income. Then we take our off-market skills to acquire, buy, and hold assets. We park the money in there. And if you just do a simple compound calculator math, Do that for 10 years, do that for 20 years. Your life is unrecognizable. You don't need to be a genius. You don't need to sell a company for, $100 million. You can really take control of your destiny just by having this model where it's active income plowed into buy and hold assets. And I just think this is the best place to start, in my humble opinion, for folks that are looking to build active income in the real estate. So that's the last thing I want to chime in on that.
Yeah, well, I agree with you, and I appreciate that too. So everybody, I'm pretty sure you're glad you listened to this podcast. So if you could leave a review for it, we really appreciate you doing that. I know I ask that every single time, but it's really important. It's the currency. It doesn't cost you anything, but it's how people like Sunder and I are able to do these things. Your reviews make all the difference in the world. So we appreciate that. We appreciate you, Sunder, and we appreciate all the listeners. God bless you and all your loved ones, and we will see you on the next Massive Passive Cash Flow podcast.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Massive Passive Cash Flow. Be sure to go to realestatewithgarywilson.com to join our community and start building wealth today.